Willis here with DC Productions at ATV, and I have a special guest here to talk to us about business and being an entrepreneur, and he just does a lot of amazing things here in the Seattle scene. It's Christopher. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. Oh, I'm great. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. So I know you're doing something with clean water, and you always have something going on. I found Chris. I was out modeling, or he found me. We found each other. I don't know. Two business-minded folks, and I've been following him around actually because I'm like, ooh, he knows a lot about business. This guy has tapes. He has CDs, DVDs. He's always doing something and diversifying his portfolio. I know that you have a background in construction business as well. And what are some of the things that you're involved in right now?
Well, you mentioned the Clean Water Foundation. The Clean Water Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was formed by Leon McLaughlin in 2009. And the purpose of the Clean Water Foundation is to take some proprietary technology that Leon created that can filter water at a high rate, and it's portable as well, and put them in third world countries like Bolivia, Nicaragua, Paraguay, Brazil, all over the world, wherever there's disaster areas that need help. Recently, with the whole Haiti issue when they had their earthquake, we donated one of our units to World Vision. The World Vision came back and bought 15 units from us. And since then, World Vision has actually partnered with us, as well as Starbucks and a few other corporations.
So as far as a unit, what is that exactly? What is a unit?
The units are portable water filtration units. They can filter 720 gallons of water per hour and service up to 3,000 children and their families. They don't need to have a filter change for up to 500,000 gallons. And what we found in several cases is that when we donate them to certain areas that are war-torn or disaster-torn, where they're having water filtration issues and contamination issues and a lot of waterborne illness, we'll put them in there, they'll help a lot of people, and then government agencies will come in and build a permanent unit. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish in all of the countries that we work on.
Okay, so that is one of the things that you're working on. What are some other things that you're doing as well?
Well, I've been in real estate, as you were saying. I've been in real estate for 14 years. I used to be a contractor and a home builder, and then in 2009, when everything shifted, I went into investments, and now I just buy investments, and I work with a lot of different investors, and I help them find good investment homes that will cash flow, and generally they're buy and hold strategies. So what we do is we buy a piece of property with the intention of keeping it for a minimum of 1 year, as much as 5 years, and then ideally cash flowing off of somebody renting that property over the course of 5 years, and then selling it for a profit. And in many cases, we practice what's called compassionate financing, where we're actually able to put displaced families into these homes at a lower rate than what they had paid before, and then help them rebuild their credit, save money for a down payment, and do a lease option, so that in 2 to 5 years, they're actually able to move into a house similar to what they already had and what they had lost in, like, say, 2009, 2010 during the foreclosure times, and be able to afford the same type of house in the same neighborhood, the same area. These people haven't lost their jobs. They're not bad people. They just went through an economic crisis where the loans that they had were either predatory loans or just really poor choices. And when adjustable rates changed and interest-only loans changed, they just simply couldn't afford to pay their mortgage anymore.
Okay. So it sounds like a lot of the work that you do is not only is it profitable for you, but it's also helping to change the way that a lot of people may have otherwise lived if they were suffering or struggling before. So it's kind of a compassionate and work that also is coming from your heart as well.
Absolutely.
So and that brings me to how did you get into these businesses?
That's an interesting question. It generally ends up being like, somebody told me about an opportunity that was out there, and I'm always open-minded, so I'm always open to new opportunities, and I love to explore different types of businesses, because whether it's a success or a failure, or whether you do it or not, you can always learn something from it. And so generally it's just somebody saying, hey, Chris, I think that you might be interested in this. And then I jump into it, and I always do my research, and I find out what the company is all about, what their background is, what their motivation is, what their mission statement is. And then I decide whether I want to give it my time, because it's just, everything I do can be really time demanding.
Yes. Yes, I know that you have some other places to go, and I'm really glad to have you in the studio today on short notice and everything as well. So for our viewers who may have been approached about different business opportunities, what kind of advice do you have as far as, I know you said definitely to research it and find out what it's all about, and then also to go in it with kind of an open mind and be willing to take it as a learning experience, even if it doesn't really work out as far as being profitable, but you have learned something through that process. What other things should people
I think that all businesses should be profitable. Everyone's time is very valuable, and you have to learn to kind of see what the real intention is of the person that's bringing you into any business, and also see what the intention is of the actual business itself. You know, if you're going in and you're going to work by the hour or salary or something like that, it's a whole different case. Like, I don't really even deal with that. But I deal with just commission-only jobs, commission-only companies, commission-only sales positions, whatever. I'm willing to do that because I understand that it takes time to formulate this. One of the biggest words of advice I can give you is that if you really want to change your position and your status in life, if you want to overcome a monthly income, an hourly income, linear income is what we call by trading dollars for hours. If you want to overcome that, you need to understand that it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes 3 to 6 months for you to create what I call a pipeline, which is where you're out talking about your business, whether it's real estate or whether it's something else. You need to be out there talking about your business consistently to people regularly, networking all the time for 3 to 6 months before you can really expect any significant amount of change. In many sales positions, even with corporate, when they're commission-based sales jobs, oftentimes they don't expect you to make a sale for 3 months because they want you to learn the system, learn what it is that they're selling, and they will be patient and wait for you to make that first sale. And if you make a sale within 3 months, sometimes it's a big deal. So if you really want to change like your financial status, you got to understand that it's going to take time for it to happen. It won't happen in a week. It won't happen in a month. It may not happen for, like I said, 3 to 6 months. And then if you consistently chase after it, that pipeline will start filling full of people, clients, business opportunities, sales, whatever you want to, whatever it is that you are working on. And ultimately, once that starts filling in, you have a whole pipeline full of sales just coming one after another. And you'll still have to stay consistent with it after that, but at least then you'll start to make that money. And in sales, you can generally make a lot more money.
So your words of advice are consistency and understanding that it's going to take time, and getting out there and networking and talking to people about what it is you're doing to build that network of people. And then just understanding 3 to 6 months. So if someone's going to start a business, they should have 6 months of funds to take care of all of their bills. And that's what any financial advisor would tell someone who's starting a business, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's 6 months of funds or just not quitting your day job, and you know, some things you have to do part-time before you can do them full-time. I mean, that's very often the case, whether it's network marketing or real estate or any other kind of sales job. Oftentimes people won't quit their full-time job. And I suggest that you don't jump right into any of these kinds of jobs. Take your time, do your research, find out what the company is about, and really take your time to research the compensation plan of any company whatsoever. Find out, like, what are the odds of you making money? How many people? What's the percentage of failure? And one of the biggest things that I focus on is what is the percentage per dollar that's going to be back in your pocket. Some companies, they might pay 28% per dollar. Other companies might pay 65 or 70% per dollar back into your pocket. If you're doing the same amount of work, why not get paid more money?
Okay. Let's see. So basically just more research, find out how profitable this is going to be versus your time and your efforts and your money that you're putting into it. Are you going to get a kickback that's worth that time and effort and energy that you're putting into learning that business?
Absolutely. And I think the two most fundamentally important parts of business are persistence and patience. Patience is something that far too few people have, and it takes a long time to earn. It's not easy, and there's a book called The 48 Laws of Power that covers patience.
The 48 Laws of Power. See, he gives me things like this to read.
It's a phenomenal book, and it starts out kind of dark and dreary. You know, it talks about really interesting things like, crushing your enemies totally, but it might sound more dark than it really is, but it's really not a dark book. It's actually a really it's a glimpse into reality as it is in life and in business. And so one of the laws talks about patience, and patience is a really, really big virtue that far too few people have. And persistence is also a big one too, learning how to take failure. failure is the most important thing in business. For you to go out and fail and understand it and learn from it and get back up and do it again and not fear failure is incredibly important.
And rejection.
Yeah, failure, rejection, it's all the same thing, right? It's kind of like dating. You know, I think that I'm blessed to be a man because I've dealt with tons of rejection in my life, and so I just kind of like
part of being a man.
Exactly. I've always correlated that to business, and so I don't really worry about failure. I'm like, okay, I failed, but I learned from this. And failure can be what you consider it. Is failure my business closed down, or is failure I never made any money, or is failure I tried and it just didn't take off, or I couldn't get venture capitalism, I couldn't get any money from the bank. You know, failure could be a whole variety of different things. But there's always a lesson to be learned in failure, and I appreciate every failure that I have.
So appreciate failure and learn to understand. I mean, for me, it was always like, I did door to door, and you have to knock on so many doors before you get so many yeses out of that. Who knows how many no's?
Yeah, I did that when I was a kid as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you will take a lot of failure with that, but there's also systems in place so that you can be successful too. So sometimes you want to find a company that has, or a business that has a good system in place. I mean, we all know that McDonald's is not known for their wonderful and delicious burgers, but they are one of the most successful restaurants in the entire world. Why is that? It's because they have a system. They can teach high schoolers how to manage a $2 million McDonald's. So the system is phenomenal, and systems are really important. So whether you have to create your own system in your own business, or whether you can jump into a business that already has a system, like maybe it's a franchise of some sort, you definitely want to figure out a way to have a system, just like door to door. There's a system to being successful in door to door.
So Chris, for those folks who are doing their own startups and they have their own passions and their own visions for their businesses that they want to start, what are some tools that you would say they should go and check out or read or listen to? You had me listening to some, you said, I'm going to be quiet and listen.
Oh,
what are those kind
I
of
think
things?
that was, what was that?
Success?
Yeah, it was, no, what it was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Oh, it's a phenomenal book. Darren Hardy is a really, really successful guy. He runs Success from Home magazine and Success magazine, and he wrote a book called The Compound Effect. And a lot of people don't know, but we spend so much time in our cars. Like the average American, this is what I learned from, one of the things I learned from Darren is the average American drives 16,000 miles a year. That's 300 hours in the car. That's a semester of college in your car. And so what are you listening to? Hip hop? Lil Wayne? You know, or country music, whatever it is, talk radio. Is that really adding to your life? You know, it's entertainment, it's mind-numbing, but it's not really teaching you anything. So I think that real entrepreneurs spend a lot of time either reading, or they utilize that time that they have in the car to learn. And so when I'm in the car, I'm always listening to educational, motivational, instructional instruments, whether it's CDs or audiobooks or whatever, and I'm always trying to learn something.
And what I found was in that, because it's one of my entrepreneurial mentors, in doing that and listening to those CDs in my car, it just kind of put me on a whole different wave of thinking that I wouldn't normally have, say, if I just got out of my car listening to my favorite musicians, which, you know, there's a time and a place for that as well, but it just completely changed the way that I walked and my purpose and just the way that I saw things. If I walked into a nail shop, I saw it completely different than I probably thought about it before, where I was just going to go get my nails done. So these are all valuable things. I'm glad that you're here to share this with
Absolutely.
all of our viewers.
When you're listening to these CDs, this is a consultant. You're getting a consultant for whatever you paid for that CD. And you know, as a consultant myself, I've done consulting for construction, I've done it for real estate, and I've done it for restaurants, all different types of companies. You know, we charge $95 and above an hour. And so for you to be able to go and deal with someone like, you know, Jim Rohn or Darren Hardy or any of these other people who are incredibly successful, and you could buy their book for 20, 40, 50 bucks and listen to it, they're consulting you. And so you definitely should take it to heart and take it seriously. Not everything's going to fit your situation, but you just never know what will fit your situation. And by listening to it consistently, you will start to speak it regardless. It just ends up in your mind.
And because we are what we eat, we are what we listen to. And I just found it really powerful because they're telling their story as well throughout those tapes and those books, and you can relate to them because they're real people who had real struggles, that had regular jobs, and then they just decided to step outside of those boxes and
Absolutely.
take the risk and take the chance to do something more spectacular.
Well, in business, it's also an added benefit. Like right now, I'm working on publishing a book, so I've just begun writing it. It's going to take quite some time to do it, but I got a publishing coach. His name is Patrick Snow. He's local. He's phenomenal. He's a world-class keynote speaker, and I met him by bringing him to one of my events with my beauty magazine, Northwest Beauty Magazine.
Northwest Beauty Magazine.
And it was really awesome. And he offered to start coaching me. And he's worth every dollar. And so now I'm going to be able to create that tool. Now, publishing books nowadays is not really about sales. Just like making music CDs is not really about sales. It's about driving people to your business, as music is about driving people to their concerts. That's where the real money is nowadays. So you're able to, and I encourage anybody out there to create your own book. Write your story out, Talk about the leadership and the change and the things that have gone on in your life, and write that book and get it published.
Yeah.
Because that is a sales tool that you can offer to anyone. And that's something that you could teach a little bit about yourself to them, and also people will respect the fact that you put that time and effort into it, and a lot of people will respond very positively to it.
Tell me about your use of digital media and social media, because I know that you incorporate that a lot into your business.
Absolutely. In many different aspects, I incorporate social media. In some cases, I work with small businesses and I actually help them develop their social media, and I manage it and I grow it, and I show them how to get subscribers and how to get likes and how to get followers. And of course, the idea is that it all creates conversions, sales, people going to your website and actually purchasing, or going into your storefront, or whatever it is. But also, social media is a really powerful marketing tool. Just like anyone's ever said before, you can create perception of who you are, and you can create who you want to be through tools like social media. I mean, the stars have been doing this for years. All the people in Hollywood have been doing this for years. In fact, they talk about this in the 48 Laws of Power. Any kind of media attention, negative and positive, is good. When people are talking about you, they're talking about you. It doesn't matter if it's positive, it doesn't matter if it's negative. Of course, you would like to keep it on the positive, depending on what industry you're in. But in the end, like with the stars, they don't care. They got caught with a DUI. It doesn't matter. They're talking about them in the media and making a big deal about it. Social media can offer that. You can reach thousands and hundreds and thousands of people through social media and get your brand out there and get it talked about. But there's definitely tricks of the trade to it. Like, one of the worst things you do is push your brand. You can't go out there and just say, I have this, come buy it, or here's a deal, or here's a sale, one day only. That stuff doesn't work. The reason why we're all switching off into TiVo and we all have XM radio and we have iPods is because we don't want to listen to those commercials anymore. And so social media is not the place to go and do push advertising. You have to do it more organically, and you have to just kind of draw people into it. And there's definitely a method to the madness in that, and that's what I teach small businesses.
So don't be pushy.
Yeah, being pushy never works, right? A friend of mine gave me a great analogy. He said, ducks love bread. And I was like, yeah, of course ducks love bread. He says, so what if you chase a duck? I said, the duck's going to run away. And I was like, yeah, so it doesn't matter. He said, it doesn't matter how much bread you have, right? It doesn't matter how good your bread is or how awesome it is. If you chase the ducks, they're going to run away no matter what. So it doesn't matter what you're selling, what your brand is, and what you have. If you chase people with it, they're going to run away, especially in our society nowadays.
Thank you so much, Chris. I think that's our time. Chris Christopher with the Seattle Scene. Where can we find you on the social media?
Well, just go on Chris Christopher on Facebook, Twitter, any of the above. You can go to my website, which is simplicityreic.com. And you can also find more information about us on the Clean Water Foundation, wa.org. So there's plenty of ways to find me. In fact, if you just type in Chris Christopher, you'll find me at the top.
Right there at the top, Chris Christopher. Thank you so much for giving us the tools and just a little bit of insight. I know that's just a little bit of what we need to know, but that's a starting place for those out there who are entrepreneurs, or maybe you're on your second business and you want to bump it up to the next level or whatever. Chris Christopher, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much as well.
We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. This is a lovely, lovely studio you have here.
Thank you. This is Alvena Willis signing off. ATV, DC Productions.